day, everyone. My name is Berkenda. I'm the Director of Operations and Strategic Projects here at OmniAir Consortium. Before we get started, I have just one reminder. We definitely encourage questions. So you can go ahead and type your questions in a Q&A box. Some of those will be answered as you're typing them in there. We have three amazing panelists today, so they will all be available to answer those questions. If there are already lingering questions, we'll go ahead and get to those at the end of the presentation. But before I introduce our panelists, I would love to introduce our Executive Director, Jason Conley. Jason, if you can please join me on the screen.
Okay, trying to join the video. My video has stopped for some reason.
Let's see if I can assist on this end.
Okay. All right. Very good. Thank you so much, Berkenda. Good morning. My name is Jason Conley. I'm the Executive Director of OmniAir Consortium. Thank you for joining today's webinar about how OmniAir's testing and certification programs for cellular vehicle to everything, or CV2X technologies, can help to advance the deployment of connected vehicle technologies and assist in meeting that stated goal of the U.S. Department of Transportation of connected interoperability nationwide. Today, you will hear from leading experts in the testing and deployment of connected vehicles. But before you do, I just wanted to tell you a little bit about our organization. OmniAir Consortium is a global association of 90 members from around the world. We have leading test laboratories, test equipment providers, device manufacturers, automotive OEMs, engineering firms, chipset providers, and of course, deploying agencies, all coming together for the express purpose of developing programs that facilitate the testing and certification of connected vehicle, as well as tolling and other ITS technologies. If you are interested in contributing to the mission of OmniAir Consortium, I would encourage you to visit our website at www.omniair.org. Also, I would note that we do, in addition to developing these programs and offering certification, which we hope will support your deployment projects, we bring together the entire industry twice a year for testing events that we call OmniAir Plugfest. And we've hosted these in Michigan and Ohio, California, Spain, and then this year we're going to Taipei next month. So we hope to see many of you in Taipei, and if not, we hope that you give some consideration to helping to participate in the development of these wonderful testing and certification programs that you'll be hearing about later today. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Ms. Cantlow, and she'll introduce our speakers. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jason. Today, we are pleased to have not one, but three leading industry experts here with us. Nick, Rosario, and Randy, please join me on the screen. And while they're popping on, I'm going to go ahead and head into their speaker bios. So Nick Hegemier is currently the Managing Director of Infrastructure for DriveOhio, a center formed within Ohio DOT to focus on smart mobility. His current duties include the development of standards for connected and automated vehicles to be deployed in the state. He is currently involved in the many national CAV efforts, including leading the AV Pooled Fund Study, and is a board member for ITS Midwest, as well as the OmniAir Consortium, a global certification entity for technologies including connected vehicles. He received his degree in electrical engineering from The Ohio State and has over 21 years of intelligent transportation system experience. Next, we have Rosario. Rosario Traperio joined DEKRA more than 30 years ago, where she has performed functions related to wireless communication, standardization, and testing. She is currently the head of DEKRA's Connected and Automated Driving Department within the Digital and Product Service Division. She is based in Sapine. Her department is in charge of defining and developing the future connected and automatic driving services for DEKRA. She actively participates in standardization bodies related to autonomous and connected vehicles, SAE, OmniAir, 5GAA, ETSI. She supports the DEKRA lab activities for connected vehicles worldwide. Thank you, Rosario. Next, we have Randy. Randy Roebuck has over 35 years experience in the wireless communications and connected vehicle and RFID tolling. In his current role, Randy is leading the Technology and Certification Services Division of the nonprofit trade organization OmniAir, which is us. He has been involved in industry standards ranging from IBTTA, IEEE, ISO, ITE, and SAE, covering both regulatory and safety and worked covering both regulatory and safety, and worked on US DOT research testing activities. Randy is a professional engineer and has held multiple engineering, manufacturing, marketing, sales, and program management positions within Texas Instruments, Federal Signal, and 3M. He earned a Bachelor's of Science in Mechanical Engineering and a Master's in Business Administration. Well, thank you guys so much for joining. I know that you all have busy schedules. Rosario is here from Spain, so we're all on different time zones. So I appreciate everyone coming together this morning or today for us. I will go ahead and turn it over to Nick to get us started.
Thanks, Brenda. I'm gonna go back to give me 1 second. For some reason, starting the slideshow again. Okay. So yeah, thanks, Brenda. Thanks, Jason, for the opportunity to speak today. DriveOhio was formed in January of 2018 to be a one-stop shop for the point of entry into Ohio for connected and automated vehicle technologies. Since then, we've taken on the shared mobility as well as electric vehicles, and we're really focused on the ground and in the air. So when we talk about smart mobility, we talk about it everywhere. Today, I'm going to talk to you briefly about the US 33 Smart Mobility Corridor and the deployment of connected vehicle technologies on that 35-mile stretch of road. Talk a little bit about the city of Marysville and the city of Dublin as well, and the challenges and the opportunities that were there as we deployed the technology. So the message today, we're going to talk about the goals of the project, the challenges, the decisions that were made, the opportunities that those decisions enabled us to uncover, and then the ultimate outcome. So the goals were to develop the section of US 33 between Dublin and East Liberty into a world-class testing environment in support of all future transportation technologies. And the reason why that this was chosen was it's really a section of roadway that has a lot of different geometric designs. So there's a lot of different curves, various vertical, horizontal curves, different speed limits, different weather patterns, so different environments. There's what the meteorologists here in the area call a weather ridge that sits just west of Marysville. So as you travel through to Marysville and just on the other side of Marysville, you could come into, during winter weather, you could come into sleet, hail, heavy snow, where just to the east in Dublin, the conditions are far better. Just allowing the opportunities for all of these different diverse environments and different geometric designs to enable the deployment and testing of different applications. It also provides a place for continued development. So along the corridor, there are many different automotive companies there that are located in support of Honda, but also in support of just the technology growth in itself. This enables DriveOhio and Ohio DT to provide guidance and lessons learned at statewide and national levels as we engage with these industry partners along the corridor. So the challenges that we currently had, or that we had at the beginning of the project, was just understanding the current standards, clearing up the ambiguities. As you work with the OmniAir working groups and teams there and the members, understanding that there are different mechanisms and manners that some of these applications are developed and deployed. And we wanted to deploy the technology that meets the minimum mandatory level of those standards. So we wanted to start off at a good baseline. And then, the challenges into the future are maintaining the technology, keeping up with the latest sets of standards. So how robust are these devices going to be to, be able to adapt to additional standards, additional applications as those applications are evolving. And then, the ultimate goal, as we started out with the project, we started out with 8 applications and realized quickly that we wanted that test corridor we wanted the opportunity to deploy things into the future. So we really just decided to focus away from those 8 applications and focus more towards, cutting that in half on 4, and really build the infrastructure up to be robust enough to handle all of these different testing scenarios that may be present in the future. So the 4 applications, is where we ended up on. So the decision and associated opportunities are understanding the current standards. USDOT 4.1, was the standard at the time. Since then, CTI 4001, developed by ITE in partnership or under contract with USDOT, has come to to replace that. Also, the various different SAE standards, those are always evolving. You see the J2945. There's various different /X's, there, /1, 2, 3, 4, 4 coming out as the RSM. And then your NTCIP 1218, just understanding the different challenges there and the opportunities that those challenges present to the corridor to evolve with the standards. And I just wanted to mention, you see down there in the bold, by joining OmniAir, we've been a member for almost 4 years now. We're getting ready to start our 4th year, I think. Being part of those working groups, part of those conversations has allowed us to be involved in the conversations around the standards with the actual developers and deployers and the manufacturers. So understanding, where they're coming from, allowing them to see our point of view and perspective, has really brought us a lot of opportunities to be engaged with the actual industry. The second decision and an associated opportunity was deploying technology that meets that minimum level of standards. So what we did there was we required OmniAir certified DSRC devices for the project deployment. This allowed us to, what I feel to be more streamlined in the deployment. So we didn't have to go and start messing around with developing things, for devices that maybe weren't quite all the way developed. We didn't have to develop applications to make sure that they were interoperable with other devices. So we had 2 RSUs, 2 OBU manufacturers. So really mix of industry players there. And, pretty much out of the box, things seem to be working just fine interoperability wise. And then keeping up with the latest standards. I talked about the RSM came out pretty much towards the end of our project. So while we were focused on the RSM early on, we had to transition away from that and go back to the TIM, understanding that, our deployments would be much more simplified. We wouldn't be taking into the consideration all of the road geometries that we're talking about or being discussed with the RSM development. So we had to be just more simplified in our application deployment, and that allowed us to be successful and at the same time stay current and look at how do we deploy and transition to the RSM in the future. One of the things that did come to light was the application operational standards. So as we started developing our TIMS message or our lane closure messages or our reduced speed warning messages, it came to light that different manufacturers were looking for different things and using those different things within their development and their application alerting functionality. So one of the things that we have started up here in DriveOhio, and we've got a draft format. We're going to probably release the final format here by the end of the year of the curve speed warning, the lane closure warning, and the reduced speed warning messages. Really just trying to get a common understanding so we're not having to provide everything in the kitchen sink to each individual manufacturer or developer for each application that's deployed. We want to provide a common set of data message elements, and that way everybody's working from the same blueprint, and they can use those points within their development as they see fit, but with a common understanding of this is what will be produced, this is the alert. We're not really worried about the time and the location of the alert happening, but we're just really worried and focused on what it is that we're going to deliver as IOOs, because we can't deliver every data element that every manufacturer wants. That would just be too time consuming and too complex for growth and standard operating procedures into the future. And then, we looked at successfully deploying those 4 applications. Those are curve speed warning, like I mentioned, pedestrian conflict warning, lane closure, reduced speed warning. So a combination of both of those, and then red light violation warning in support of the SPAT message. By having OmniAir membership and being involved heavily, in some of the working groups, leading the working groups, being executive members, we had access to those plug fests. So we had access to showcase, this is how we expect the applications to function as IOOs. That led to increased experience and an understanding at plug fest events. So we actually saw the devices actually functioning. And then being involved in an application working group, being able to guide and steer where the applications that we're focused on as the IOOs, how do we get those certified at a higher priority level. And so the outcome is, once the FCC license issues were resolved, we had a lot of license issues, as everybody, that has been deploying this within the states has had. Deployment was completed with very little issue. Like I mentioned before, interoperability among vendors was achieved. We had very little hiccups in the development of our TIMS message creator. Seems like everybody, understood the messages. Those messages were able to come through clear on the OBUs that were installed. Like I said, we had 2 OBU manufacturers. And then, very little development was needed. So we were using certified devices that were already set up to do some of this stuff from an OmniAir certification level. And, it just streamlined the whole process. And like I mentioned before, RSU and OBU basic functionality was already present. So it was, at that point in time, it was just, we had to deal with some security issues. The SCMS top off, with IPv4 and IPv6 requirements for security certificate top off. A lot of our local cities didn't want or didn't have the capabilities to enhance their whole network with IPv6 network topology. So we had to work within the bounds, and some of the manufacturers were able to work within those bounds and give us, little, what I call cheat paths to kind of cheat the system and be able to support top off through IPv4. But for majority wise, with the 33 corridor, being 35 miles in length, a lot of those citizens travel between Marysville and Dublin. So with our state network, we were able to support IPv6 topology. And so as those citizens travel from city to city and in and around the area, they would come across some of those RSCs that had the security top off via IPv6 capability and be able to top off their certificates in that manner. Additional benefits, because Ohio DOT and DriveOhio is a member of OmniAir, we had access to the device manufacturers. Through those working groups, we had access to test labs, understanding where they were coming from a testing perspective, what's capable of being tested, what's not. We found that there's a lot of requirements that just don't have enough detail in the standards to make them testable. And then there's a greater understanding of those standards, tests, and device functionality. And then, I think the overall best benefit is just having an input as to what the IOO community expectations are. And, active OmniAir membership provides those benefits. Through smart mobility initiatives, there's lots of input that we're sharing, that we're getting back from others, as far as, being able to have the audience for our operational standards development. We had 60 plus members on that stakeholder group. So that just really showcases, the attention that and the relationships that we're forming just through OmniAir membership and being part of those working groups. As far as IOO certification, so, and I've shared this with some of our friends in the IOO community. What we're doing as far as certification requirements in Ohio is we're incorporating this statement into our procurement documents, and I think we've shared this with Smart Columbus. City of Columbus has recently released an RFP with this verbiage in it. We had an invitation to bid that went out earlier this year with this verbiage in it. And really what we're trying to focus on is certification for that CV2X release 1. Making sure that the vendors and the IOOs are both aware that certification release 1 is what the requirements should be focused towards. And then if that certification, like certification release 1 just came out earlier this year, maybe a couple months ago. So understanding that there's not many devices that are certified to that degree yet, we are requiring a letter from OmniAir stating that the certification process has been initiated. So whatever those requirements are from an OmniAir perspective to provide that letter, we're leaving that up to them. But understanding that if they're comfortable providing a letter, then that's good enough for us. But that letter is very important to the IO community, so that as we go down the road of additional deployments, we're actually able to have comfort in understanding that, hey, these companies are serious about the development work that they're doing, and they're on the path for certification. So we can expect that by the time the project is over, certification will have been achieved, and the device will be interoperable with everything else that's going on in the V2X ecosystem. And that's it for me today. I'll transition it back to Brikenda.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Nick. All right, Rosario, if I can have you pop on the screen with us, please.
Can you see the screen, Brikenda?
Yes, all good.
Okay. Okay. Then today I'm going to talk about the can offer a test laboratory to the V2X industry. Okay. I would like to introduce DEKRA. Is my company, and also the Digital and Product Solution division that is in charge of testing and certification for testing and certify the product on global market. Okay. And also the main standardization and interest group related to V2X, and also the conformity and the conformity assessment in US, and the services that DEKRA is offering for OmniAir testing. Also, finally, we will see important to test in a lab environment. Okay, about DEKRA. DEKRA was established in 1925 to ensure years, the company will celebrate a century. Work and home with experts in more than 60 countries. Digital and Product Solution is a division of DEKRA that offers a broadband portfolio of testing services, and with a network of more than 48 labs around the world, with different divisions. You can see here all the digital product solution location in Asia, in Europe, and these are the main division inside digital and product solution, EMC testing, connectivity, product certification, medical device certification, artificial intelligence, big data, cybersecurity, and automotive testing also. Now we are going to see what are the main organizations that are defining test specification and for V2X and in the automotive world. DEKRA is part with very active role in these global technical committees, for example, in OmniAir, also in ETSI, in ERTICO, 5AA, SAE, 3GPP, etc. Okay. These organisms are defining the specification and requirement related to conformance, interoperability, performance, security, efficiency, and also sustainability. Then the certification process is the right platform for the technology success, generating trust in the product, in the final product, and acceptance, and ensuring the availability of new product in the market. Okay, for V2X certification is a guarantee of quality. Okay, there are different requirements from the regulatory point of view, from interest group and standardization organization, and also for third party, for OEMs and for others. And these requirements are, for example, collected by OmniAir, and they are defining a test specification for the different layers, for lower layers, higher layers, and also application layer. Okay. Then now we are going to see the conformity assessment in US that is led by OmniAir and also complemented by PlugFest. You can see here a picture of the last PlugFest in Malaga in October 2022. And in this scheme, you can see what are the last step of the certification. OmniAir review all the test report and all the evidence that the applicant and also the lab is providing to them, and decide if all the requirements are in compliance, they can obtain the OmniAir certification. DEKRA is part of OmniAir authorized test laboratory list, and we can test, for example, DSRC and LTE V2X for VU and for RSU, and also we can perform field testing in our test track in Malaga. And also, DEKRA is authorized laboratory from OmniAir for RFID tolling testing. This lab is in Virginia. You can see here in this picture some of the qualified test tool, because the test tool that we have to use during the testing process has to be qualified by OmniAir with the collaboration of some device manufacturer and also with the labs, and some specification applying to VU and RSU. You can see here, for example, for lower layers, there are different test systems for DSRC, the download test system, and for LTE V2X, the key-side test system is qualified, and also I think there are other different test equipment that are now in qualify or during the process of qualification. But in DEKRA, we have these two systems. And for upper layer, we have also different systems from different manufacturers, also for DSRC from download, and for LTE V2X from download, key-side, and Spirent. Okay, and also we in DEKRA we have implemented some. We are implemented some test tools to perform some special test specifications that are under development. As Nick explained, we have access in OmniAir to the draft, and we can test specification, and we can also develop a new test to improve the testing. Okay. Then in this part, I'm going to present what are the requirements to become an ATL, an authorized laboratory, and what they mean. Okay. Okay. The first point is competence. The staff of the laboratory has to demonstrate education, qualification, training, and the skill and experience necessary to perform the testing. The second point is objective evidence. We have to provide verification and verification of the test method that we are using for testing. We can provide the analysis of results, including the conformity, the statement of conformity, if we consider that the requirement is pass or fail. And also we can offer some opinions and interpretation of the results to the customer. And finally, we provide a test report to the customer that is finally reviewed by OmniAir in this case. Other characteristic of the ATL is the impartiality. Of course, if you test with a third party, usually this report of test results are trusted than if you perform your own test in your facilities. Also, the global report recognition and the market confidence to demonstrate to a user that safety, performance, and quality are guaranteed in the product, in the devices. Also, confidentiality. All the information has to be confidential during the testing process and before and after. And not only the personnel involved in the testing has to keep the confidentiality, also all the personnel of the laboratory, contractor, or external body has to keep the confidentiality of the testing process. Also, usually the lab has facility and test tool. We test in a controlled lab environment and test track with certify and qualify this equipment, with reference material as golden devices that we can use to compare some results, and also with the right standard. Also, traceability is a very important thing for laboratories. We have to have all the technical record of the testing process. We have to calibrate all the devices with the defined period. And also, we perform some interlab comparison to guarantee to the customer that the results is the same in different laboratories. Okay, and also at the beginning of the process, we pass an evaluation for the accreditation body. In this case, or the certification body. In this case, from OmniAir. And we have to demonstrate that we meet all the certification scheme requirements that are in the different policies of the organization. Okay. In the other hand, a testing lab can offer support beyond the certification testing. The testing, we can test not only under normal or nominal operation, but also under extreme one, and under a customer requirement, special customer requirement at the edge of the limit of the requirement. And in this case, DEKRA can offer a list of different skills. For example, we can provide excellent technical support, safe and closed test environments. We joined different standardization and interest group. Also, of the results are accuracy and with high reliability. we are customer-oriented services. We provide the customer detail testing proposal, and we understanding of the testing capabilities and capacities. Okay. Summarizing, we think that labs help a new product to reach successfully the market, providing safe, providing that, demonstrating that the product is safe to use, has the right functionalities, and is interoperable with other devices. Okay, and these are one of our lab testing services. In this case, we can provide access to international markets because we have, as I explained at the beginning, more than 40 laboratories around different world zone, okay, in Asia, in Europe, and in America. Also, we have high knowledge and expertise in these laboratories. As I explained, we have laboratories in different regions, and we provide full and flexible testing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rosario, for sharing that with us. All right, if I can have Randy Roebuck come to the screen, please.
Thank you. Hello, I'm Randy Roebuck. Thank you, Nick, for explaining the agency's need for certified devices. And thank you, Rosario, for providing the need to having an authorized test laboratory a part of certification. OmniAir's goal is to certify connected vehicles technology to ensure devices conformance and standards, that the devices are inoperable and meets the needs of the end user. Our philosophy has always been here is to help the V2X members earn their certification, although we just don't simply give it away. We want to make sure everything meets the requirements out in the field, and people can have successful deployments. Certification trust builds trust. We have an independent test laboratory. We have conformance and verifications per our test cases of the standards and specifications, provide device consistency, provide interoperability, access, security credentials to known devices. We have a qualified agency list, and hopefully this will minimize product verifications, and we also have surveillance. OmniAir should be the cornerstone of your procurement, performance testing to the standards of regulatory. We have over-the-air communications, interoperability. Hopefully it prevents costly procurement mistakes, enhances trust, reliability, and optimized deployment dollars. Two key items to part of the certification is a certified device. It's basically been defined as certified by a third-party certification body, tested by an independent laboratory, using qualified test systems, validated test cases, verifying the device level conformance to a minimum set of applicable industry standard security and meeting interoperability requirements. These certified devices should bear the certification marks and have its public listing as evidence of certification. When you come into validation, every deployment should be including certified devices, installing them, then the validation basically validates their installation into their environment. There's different types of component and device types out there. We do offer module certification. One is the radio, another one is the V2X functionality. In the future, there will be message services. From an OBU standpoint, there'd be a vehicle embedded, distributed, integrated, and we're also just started a new working group with aftermarket safety devices being applied outside the vehicle. We have RSU, which could be a standalone or integrated infrastructure type. And then there'll be peripherals such as the V2X hub and V2X capability in the traffic signal controller. OmniAir certification services, it starts at the standards, taking the requirements and regulatory, and the working group takes those particular items, develops them into test cases and scopes, and turns them into validation. On the left-hand side, we have qualified test equipment. Then in the middle, authorized test laboratory, which we have DEKRA, who just presented. We have TTA, we have TUVR out of Taiwan. Then we have authorized field test sites, such as the DEKRA facility. We do have quite a few qualified test sites in the RFID space and tolling. And then it leads to device certification, which we are doing module, the LTE, we're doing the RFID, single protocol, multi protocol, and we still continue some of the DSRC work that's still in Asia. We do have other items in work, such as our V2X applications, our aftermarket safety devices. We're just starting up transportation sensors. And then we also have our V2X tolling, which involves the road user charging. Our certification components and responsibilities, it starts with the certification scope, then goes down to the test cases. Then we look at the test cases, and once they're written, then we see their implementation in test equipment, and we qualify those to make sure that it's giving consistent and known results. Then the test laboratories uses the qualified test equipment to do the testing. We audit the test laboratory where they know how to use the equipment, how to produce the test results, and how to serve their customers in developing the test report, which we review. Then they may also use authorized test sites and leads down to the final bullet, which is certification, where we review the test report, make sure all the criteria it has been met in the findings. Then we award the certification and list it on the website. One of the key things is our V2X technology readiness, and one of the key components is bringing everybody together in a cooperative fashion in order to test, and this serves multiple purposes, as far as the test laboratory works with the device manufacturers, the test equipment folks, all in a collaborative an event order to make sure our process is solid and give consistent results. You can see on the left-hand side and the past events where we started in the fall of 2017 and hosted our first OmniAir Plug Fest in California. And we've covered multiple states. We've done Plug Fest in Canada. We've done a couple in Spain. We just recently finished in Florida. Here at the 1st of November, we'll be going to Asia for the first time at Taipei, Taiwan. And this coming up spring, we'll be in Ann Arbor at M-City. So where it starts is we get readiness, we go up through doing the test cases, and we're climbing the stairs to achieve certification. And hopefully that leads to conformance, compliance, compatibility, interoperability for over-the-air communications. And this particular event is not only for devices that believe they're ready for certification. This is truly an event where you're starting your program and you want to come and see, hey, what does the industry have to offer? How is it being done? So it can actually speed up your development and know what you need to do order to have devices that operate properly. And one of the key things for the test laboratories and OmniAir itself is we see everybody's devices. We know what the industry norms, and we can tell you whether you're performing towards the industry norms and consistency. The only way V2X is going to work is it needs to be trusted and it needs to be interoperable. All our certification documents are available to members. These 2 documents were developed in mind for everybody to know who we are, what we do, the breadth we take, and what's part of certification. So Nick at DriveOhio asked us to put these documents together and make them publicly available. So when agencies or users are requesting OmniAir certification, they know exactly what it consists of in that. So you can use the QR code to go to our website for these 2 documents, and which had just been recently updated. On our website, we do show the different test specifications that are part of our Release 1 certification, both for OBUs and RSUs. And this diagram shows the certification process. You go to our website, you fill out the application, the agreement. If you're a standing member, there's no fee involved. From that information, we develop a test plan. We review its acceptance both with the laboratory and the applicant, make sure everything is covered and everything is agreed to. Then they select their test laboratory and their field test site selections. Then the laboratory does the conformance, does the interoperability test, and generates the report. Then that report gets reviewed, we grant certification, apply the trademark. On the left-hand side, it shows that the qualified test equipment, the OQTE, the reference devices, the authorized test laboratories are very key components in achieving the certified device. Here's our website. The left-hand side shows go to connected vehicle, select a button for device certification. It brings up an application, you fill it out, Then it develops a certification agreement, which I show an example on the right-hand side. After you do that, please send me your product details, data sheet, user manual, so we can generate a test plan. One key item, no testing data generation can be considered before the assigned agreement. So please make sure you submit the application agreement so we can start looking, or basically the devices can start their testing. This is a sample test plan for the V2X, OBU, RSU, and module. There's quite a few test cases, but not everything applies to each device here. Should be simply run through it. We've had a couple devices you'll see here. Next, who has IT Telecom, has actually was the first one to earn their LTE V2X OBUs as certified devices. One device used a chipset A, another device used a chipset B. So the two current chipsets are certifiable. Then on the bottom shows the compliance for the Keysight test equipment for conformance. You can see their test procedures, what that particular test equipment covers to give integrity here to the whole program. So our certification program is open. The specifications all have been updated this past summer. It's current to date. So we please start applying, and we're here to serve you. Thank you very much. And Perkinda, cheers.
Hi, well, it looks like we have a couple of minutes. If I could have Rosario and Nick pop back on the screen, please. Let's take a look to see if there are any questions. I do not see anything in the Q&A. So if there's any final points, Jason, if you wanted to provide any final closing thoughts, we do have a moment for that.
Well, I just wanted to thank you all for taking the time to present. I actually learned a lot myself today. We very much appreciate our valued members like Nick Hegemier with DriveOhio and Rosario Traperio from DEKRA. And we appreciate DEKRA hosting our PlugFest in Malaga last year. We hope to go back to Malaga. It's one of everyone's favorite venues. I would just like to maybe ask a question to the group. So how do we help device manufacturers going through the process the first time to be successful? I mean, how do we, I know it's a bit daunting with all that we require for certification. So how do we help to ensure success?
I mean, the first thing is when a person hears about us, they join as members, then we walk through kind of what we do and what we have. We always encourage them to come to PlugFest regardless of where their device or where their status stands, because they learn so much in that perspective. And we kind of help them handhold and kind of say, here's the whole industry set of test equipment, here's the standards. We do give people kind of where standards are going and which ones you should get involved with, and what you should be addressing. So it's a very hands-on process.
Rosario?
Yeah, I think that for the device manufacturers, it's not all important to fulfill the regulatory requirement. I think it's very important to demonstrate that the device can interoperate with other devices in this case over here, in this case for V2X. And also, I think one very good things that you are doing is organize the Blackfest. In this environment, all the people are collaborating, interchanging opinion, knows new ways to perform some things. I think they are very interesting, the Blackfest.
Excellent. And Nick, let me just maybe add a little bit to that. So you have kind of a broad cross section of our membership participating in the RSU sub working group and focused on infrastructure. Could you maybe talk a little bit about how the companies benefit from that and how maybe it will make it easier to eventually become certified if you actively participate in the working groups?
Yeah, so that was going to be part of my answer. So first of all, plug fests are a great opportunity. There's no judgment based off of where you fall within the level of development. Invite anybody and everybody that's entertaining or developing, the V2X space or soon to be other ITS spaces, to come to Plugfest and just see where how your technology lands, in regards to certification and the tests that are being performed for certification. It just gives you kind of a comfort layer, or a comfort level to say, this is where we're at. Maybe we thought we were farther behind than where we should be, and this may bring you some comfort in understanding that, hey, you're maybe not that far behind, and you're closer to certification than you thought you were initially. Those tests that are performed at Plugfests are the tests that are performed for certification. There's a wide variety of tests there, both field tests and bench tests. As far as the working groups, Jason mentioned, I chair the RSU sub working group, so we're dealing with a lot of RSU standards, developing test cases for those standards. If you're an active member and you are active, I say that active participant, because you can be a member and never participate in a working group, just do the plug fests and stuff like that. But if you're an active participant in the working groups, then you gain insight and input in the development of those test cases. As an IOO, I come to it with the IOO perspective of, this is what is important to an IOO. This is what's important to me. So, I translate that in talks with other IOOs and my counterparts in other states on what they're looking for, what's important to them, bring that to the table and set the level of expectations of what an IOO is interested in. Maybe completely different than the way that the standard was interpreted, from a developer standpoint. The developer may have a increased complexity in what the way that they see that standard requirement, and maybe it's just IOO wants to see this, and that's why the standard was developed the way that it was within that ITE committee that was made up of manufacturers, industry members, integrators, IOOs, all sorts of participants from all different walks of the V2X world. That's how the standard was developed. So trying to get those perspectives across the board in the working groups is very beneficial, not just to the test case and certification, but to the whole ecosystem in the V2X ecosystem and all the players involved.
Excellent, thank you. And if you are OmniAir members and you're not participating in working groups, certainly encourage you to go ahead and do so. If you are interested, you're not yet a member, please reach out to us. We have working groups on RSUs and infrastructure, application testing, so safety applications. We have working groups focused on cybersecurity and V2X-based tolling and road user charging, traditional tolling, lots of different activities. So if any of this falls within your area of interest or expertise, we'd certainly encourage you to join and contribute to the work of the organization. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to my colleague, Ms. Cantlow, to address any questions or close us out.
All right. Well, it looks like we don't have any questions. That was a great round of, kind of a little bit of a Q&A. Thank you so much for leading us in that, Jason. Thank you so much, Nick, Rosario, Randy, for your time this morning and today. We appreciate everybody, you guys, and anyone, if you have any colleagues who may have missed this presentation, those of you who have joined, this will be posted on our YouTube this week, as well as all of the previous replays. So we can catch you there. All right. Thank you guys so much. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.